Imagine, if you can, getting a job, the hiring manager, or let's be honest, just whoever is to hand that day, asks you all the standard questions.
Can you use computers?
Yeah.
Microsoft Office.
Yes.
Outlook.
Yep.
GoldSrc.
Are you serious?
Mate, I'm deadly serious.
And now imagine you're joining the military, and you get basically the same thing, except maybe they call you a maggot on top of it, I'm not sure. You know the drill. Well, unlike with the companies of today that will not train you, or anyone, and the mind-numbingly obvious training of those that do, there was once a magical time where you could have been dropped into GoldSrc to do your training. That's right, viewers. You too could qualify for a job. A job. Oh wow, GoldSrc? That's just about the only thing I can do. I know. And for this you can thank Great Britain, home of Carling, terrible beer, Top Gear, brilliant show, and as we'll talk about in this video, the great Maverick Developments, the absolute wizards behind this training. That's right, you'd be training for work and the military in Half-Life. I've been sent a bucket load of amazing information by a viewer who wishes to remain anonymous, but thank you so much. And no, it's not microfabricant, so don't even ask. Today our journey starts here, in a lovely little place called Norwich. Yes, non-British friends, it is indeed Norwich, not Norwich, and it's part of a place called Norfolk. No, not Norfolk. You see, that would make too much sense. If you don't like how we say our place names, well, you can fuck off. But if you're still here, settle down and listen to this Brit load of information. And as part of your training, watch this to the end, or else you're fired! Some of you might have already heard of Maverick Developments. They've been involved in some really awesome stuff. Maverick Developments are the people behind Absolute Redemption and Wanted, with Absolute Redemption being a sort of outdated attempt at Half-Life 2 before Half-Life 2. And Wanted is your sort of country western type mod. It's high new. It's a lot of fun, and to be honest, it is nice to feel wanted sometimes. Am I right, guys? Am I right? What? Oh, well, okay, tough crowd. But Maverick also had official dealings with Valve 2 and made the Gunman Chronicles demo, which was published by Sierra, and even developed OG Counter-Strike's training room. So for all you new heads out there, this ain't just some random company. Put some respect on Maverick. My mystery source also tells me that they were working on a full GoldSrc game called Machiavellian, which unfortunately never came to pass, and I can't really seem to find much about it online either. But of course, here are some pictures, because I really tried. So now you know Maverick means business. What did Maverick mean to businesses? Well, there's a little thing called tutors. I know that sounds sinister, but it has the same word root as tutor. For those of you who are afraid of learning, I'm sorry. This quirky little 2002 program basically contains scenarios for staff training. So if you were lucky, part of your training would be taking place in GoldSrc. Tutors. Originally had the less scary name, Virtual Workplace. But I guess at the time they might have decided it sounded a bit too gimmicky. At one point everything was called virtual something or not, and I think companies may have been a little bit skeptical. They also created something really cool called Dive, or DIVE, which is where the military side of things comes in. But I'll get to that later. Shooters! Came with 11 modules. Building Site 1, Building Site 2, Construction Manager, Scaffold, Plumber, Electrician, Office, Factory, Warehouse, Catering, Training on how to use shoot. This basically covers the very wide range of British and Polish jobs, all for the low price of, adjusted for inflation, £720-ish, or $926. There were also a bunch more modules such as Warehouse 2, Catering 2, Office 2, Bar Person's National Certificate, and 10 Golden Rules of Dismissing, which sounds like a tutorial for my love life. But you had to pay more for these, I'm afraid, so it was best to wait for the Steam sale. That was a joke, by the way, it wasn't on Steam, or really anything. But despite being made in the early 2000s, you'd still expect to pay £99 per module for these extras. I'll call them DLC because I'm in a funny mood. B2B, that's business to business, truly is where all the money is, isn't it? Maybe I'm in the wrong business. If any businesses want to hit me up, do it now. Until that happens, I'm just going to let you all know that I have a Patreon, which gives you access to my amazing Discord and a wealth of others. So what did this software look like? Well, fortunately, there are 1 or 2 pictures and videos just floating around online, but it took a while to find them, so I did it for you. You see, shooters didn't really hit store shelves and Maverick sadly disbanded in 2007. So, well, good luck with that. But fear not, friends, that's not the last we're going to see of them in this video. I just did the biggest eyebrow raise, no one can see it, I forgot. Well, you see, to quote Fontaine's DC, here's the thing. We still don't have a single copy of this anywhere to my knowledge. I mean, think about it, right? Half-Life 1, a game that sold millions to the consumer market, had lost media versions that were later uncovered, much later. So a B2B training software with a pretty high price, well, we can assume that only like 3 of these could even be left, surely. And that's if the people who bought it, mostly business owners with no interest in Half-Life, decided it was worth preserving. So over the past 2 decades, this niche training software has probably just kind of disappeared from people's computers, under a floppy disk somewhere, or in the washing machine, perhaps even under the subscribe button. Anyway, I said we hadn't seen the last of Maverick's work, right? Well, Jesus kind of became a separate thing called WorkShield, a separate entity from Maverick, and we can even see the page here using the Wayback Machine. Pretty cool. Interestingly, we see that they offered bespoke training sets too, meaning you could have ordered a scenario of your choosing. I'd like to put this out now, if there is anybody still out there who is or was involved with this thing, I beg you to make a quick YouTuber training set where a green character sits at a desk all day. I can pass this along to my children and continue the legacy. I'll also settle for someone simply sharing some of the modules, I guess. Sadly, despite users on the Lost Media Wiki reaching out, they've just had no luck getting a response. The website still works, but well, kind of also doesn't work. What an incredibly cool piece of software and GoldSrc history though. Brings a tear to your eye. Well, mine at least. The viewer who kindly shared this information with me even applied for a role at Maverick back in the day, as a teenager, and though he was unsuccessful because they were focusing on different things in his specialty, they were still kind enough to hand deliver a letter to him, which I think speaks volumes about the kinds of people there. And while my anonymous source is, again, not Michael Fabricant, if it was, bro went on to be an MP. So I guess he won. Maverick, if any of you are out there, please leave a comment here. I would absolutely love to be able to make a follow-up to this with some new information and your permission. But Lenify, what about the military? What about the military? Deep dive. I hate that phrase so much. So, we all love mods, but what about MODs? That is, the UK's Ministry of Defence. For Americans, the Department of Defence. Well, Maverick, the crazy buggers they are, also co-created a program called Dive with I almost said Quinton. Kinetic, who are a defence contractor. And this was for training soldiers. Actual soldiers in the real world. Dive stands for Dismounted Infantry Virtual Environment. To put it simply, this acted as a cheap, easy way for soldiers to train in urban environments without actually being there. Sounds like a dream! Now, if the stuff my military friends have told me over the years is accurate, the biggest benefit to this would be avoiding having to carry your kit. It's really funny seeing Kinetic saying they've used their synthetic environment expertise or whatever here, when it's just basically a Half-Life mod. No, it is a Half-Life mod. That's like me saying I'm a social media manager, writer, and visual producer, which to be fair is what it says on my CV. And yes, I have done all of these in an office as well. So hey, fake it till you make it. Life is all about buying and selling, dear viewer. Everything is made up. But at any rate, I mean, that's just really cool, right? So cool, in fact, that they made a second one called Dive 2. Now, this one is especially funny and interesting because they just straight up kept a lot of the Half-Life 2 assets in there. So there you are, Gordon Freeman. Actual British soldier. This also means that the character I was based on is technically a veteran, so put some respect on that man. While Dive must have done decently well for Dive 2 to even be considered, Dive 2 itself may have just lacked a practical utility, which would explain why it's never really been seen as heavily modified as Dive 1. But there's more. In a research paper called Serious Gaming, Virtual Reality Saviour, a few gamey training thingies are talked about, including Dive and Dive 2, but also other really cool stuff like Blitzgame's Triage Trainer. Sorry to disappoint you, it does not take place at dawn, and this really freaks me out. It's kind of uncanny to me, I can't put my finger on what it is. But this is so cool, especially since here in the UK we don't really see many games set where we live. But serious games, I mean, what's that? Well, while it's always a serious game when I'm playing CS2, Serious Games, in capital letters, was this phenomenon at the time of game developers making games with real life applications. Blitz, for example, made games like the critically acclaimed Chicken Run game, featuring Wyatt Shears probably, and probably some other games too, but had a division called True Sim, which made these serious games like the Triage Trainer. If you don't like me at my Chicken Run, you don't deserve me at my Triage Trainer. So this paper by Robert Stone on serious games at the University of Birmingham refers to a lot of other data gathered on the subject, which largely found that FPS players are just better than regular people. Something I personally, as an FPS player, always secretly suspected. You know what, when I play Counter-Strike, I do get the feeling that I'm playing with people who are the next step in human evolution, so this makes total sense. In all seriousness though, what they refer to VR, which is a very funny idea to us these days, had a lot of promising findings behind it at the time. And yes guys, Half-Life mods, as you may know, are just one piece of this awesome puzzle. You see, we'd already seen the US Army using Doom 2 and Rainbow Six, so what Maverick was doing here was not totally new, but without the early incursions into so-called VR serious gaming, we wouldn't have the evidence that it works on some level, which propelled Maverick's ideas forward. But does it in fact work? Well, according to the study, quote, related articles addressing the positive impact of computer games exposure on the manual dexterity skills of specialists in other domains, notably laparoscopic keyhole surgery, have been published in medical journals such as Surgical Endoscopy, Gynecological Endoscopy, oh dear, and at the annual conference series Medicine Meets Virtual Reality, as well as the newly, at the time, launched Games for Health conference. That's a lot of different writings saying basically yes, there is an impact. So at the very least, these papers all generally agree that playing video games does enhance your dexterity skills, aka how well you can use your hands in certain situations. This was the easiest bar to clear. So at the very least, we have some proof that motor skills and precision could be benefited by games, even in medical science. And as the study itself says, basically so long as someone is put in a situation where they need to be constantly aware of their environment and what to do next within a 3D environment, there is a framework there to just mess around with all kinds of different applications. Just like that study that found that British black cab drivers, famous for not being allowed to use GPS, developed a very large hippocampus when compared to the general population. This is the part of the brain that is responsible for spatial navigation and general memory. Your brain is always changing through your actions, so stop gooning. In fact, I reckon just by watching this video and clicking subscribe, your brain could up to triple in size. Anyway, enough science. Where are these sorts of things now? We don't really hear about them much, do we? What happened to serious gaming? Well, I think we have a few problems here. One, the game industry is just a completely different place now. Gaming is widely considered proper art now. The industry can survive on its own back. It generates so much money that they just might not need to innovate in these areas. Many companies just figure out what works and keep doing it. Serious gaming is such an obscure, remote part of the market that there's simply not much point. 2, everyone who can make games is already making games, and everyone who could be making serious games is not really in the games business anymore. And finally, my last point, number 3, it feels like technological development has just made these kind of virtual training things a lot more specialized, resembling less and less a video game as time goes on. You won't be jumping into a source mod these days, but you might be using a specially made for the job machine, or just undertaking cheaper, easier, written or video-based training instead. It seems like the future of serious gaming is more in health, and there's already been some pretty successful health games, and I would encourage anyone to hit the like and subscribe button in order to burn like 1 calorie. Every little helps. This was a very special video for me to make. For one, I'm always happy to take on a viewer suggestion. I mean, as long as it's good. But 2, I was really in the dark about a lot of this stuff, and I have been so thrilled to find out about it all. If you guys have any more info, let me know. See you next time.